Right. So yeah, here. I'm Alistair Landels, and I'm joined by Andreas Kibitz, we're going to show you a few things about what we've been doing at OCAD recently. And that didn't change. Why is it not changing? Okay, right. Now it's changing slide. So today's agenda will be two parts. I'm going to talk about the app development, and then later Andreas is going to talk about all of these different things, mostly to do with legibility and printing stuff, preparation for races. So what we're going to talk about first is app development. But just before I talk about the new app, I'd just like to say that the Sketch app, you could say, officially stopped development of it. We haven't done a release of the Sketch app in over 6 months now. So the work is now fully focused on the new app. So if anyone's waiting for any new developments in the Sketch app, they won't be coming. The new app will supersede that by many orders of magnitude, we hope. So the new app basically includes everything from the current Sketch app, but hopefully better. Obviously, editing of map objects will be enabled. We're building it primarily for iOS and Android. Later on, there could be Windows and Macs as well. And one thing which I'm not going to talk about tonight, but I was just going to mention now, and that is that we're trying to also work a bit on not just the app itself, but also data collaboration for people who, so when you've got a map file, so you're working on the desktop or one or more devices, that the data transfer between these different devices will work a little bit better. And also, hopefully, that'll also mean that if you've got multiple users, so multiple mappers working on one map, things will work a little bit better. And hopefully, this sort of will improve your workflow processes. So you won't have quite so many versions of a map or dealing with so much copying of data from one map to another as different mappers make updates or that type of thing. But like I said, I'm not going to speak anything about that particular part tonight, but it is something which we're also working on as part of this development. So the app development we've been working on for about 1.5 years now. We're trying to make it more intuitive, more configurable, and also trying to sort of work on those workflow processes so you only get the functions that you need when you need them. We also want to try and make the app easy to learn to use. So we're doing things like grouping various buttons together and introducing themed colors for them. So you can see here on the picture on the right, which is obviously the new app, which I'm going to demonstrate in a few minutes. The one on the left is the Sketch app, which is you can currently use. But on the right here, so you can see the themed buttons, so that the green buttons, like on the bottom right there, they're sort of constructive buttons, sort of actions to do things which are positive. Anything generally red would be sort of destructive, to erase something or to delete something. And then then they'll use other colors, so the blue colors or the yellow colors are ways of grouping different functionality together to make it easier to understand what the different options are at different states. And so we're trying to also keep the user interface sort of clean from superfluous functions which you might not use very often. And at the same time also let you, the user, decide which functions or which buttons that you want. So trying to make it more configurable. And we'll see some of that as time goes on. And as time goes on, we'll also hopefully add more of that type of configuration. So I'm going to start the demo in a moment, but just a couple of things. Firstly, just so you know, I'm using a Samsung S8. It's probably at least a couple of years old, running Android 14. I've got a stylus pen, and I'll be using my fingers to zoom. Please note this is what I call an alpha prototype. It's not even we're not even using it much for internal testing yet, although we are obviously testing it a lot. And as I'm doing a live demo, there could be crashes, there could be weird behavior, you might see other stuff. And what I might demonstrate today might obviously change before we release. So I'm going to start my demonstration now. So I'm going to have to change my sharing screen from sharing the my desktop to sharing my device. Just try and work out how to do that. Share screen. Right. I presume people can see my screen now. Let's see the app. Well, I can see it.
But anybody, if it does appear a little bit small, if you hover over the bottom left of the screen, there should be a small plus and minus option to zoom in, and you can move it around with your mouse as well, if anybody does need it slightly blown up. Just make sure you don't crop off all the bits at the bottom, all the tools as well.
Right. Okay to start, Joe? I guess.
Yep, ready to rock.
Okay, good. So first thing is that it's generally quite similar to the Sketch app in terms of zooming and aligning to north and stuff like that. GPS location works as well. So I can zoom into where I am, etc. Then, so at the top, there's sort of 3 buttons, which we'll come back to later. Right at the bottom, we've got about 7 buttons. So on the left, there's undo, redo, and then we've got a pan button, so I can pan the screen, which is the one which is selected now. I can change to the selection button. Just waiting for the screen to update. Not updating very quickly. Okay, and when the selection button is, then I can obviously select different objects. We have a status bar at the top, so you can see here that I've selected 4 trees. Then the next button is a drawing button, which I'm going to talk about a lot more in a moment. And then there is a sketch eraser, which I can use to erase my sketches. And then there's a configuration button, which I'll come back to again later. So I'm just going to scroll over here to a blank piece of map and yeah. So like I said, we can sketch as you can in the Sketch app. It works almost the same as the Sketch app does, except that Each color now will also remember the width of that pen. So at the moment here, I've got a green pen, so I can, and it's quite a thick pen. And if I change to, say, the orange pen, you can see it's a thinner pen, and I can go back to the thick green pen. And obviously I can change the thickness of any pen at any time. So if I did want to draw a thinner green line, I can. So sketching is the same. The eraser works a similar way. I can adjust the size of the eraser, so it can be smaller or larger, like the Sketch app. So I wasn't going to talk any more about sketches now. Let's go back and talk about drawing real objects. So we've got one drawing button, so you can draw sketches or you can draw objects. So for example, I can wait for the screen to update. Used to be a bit slow sometimes. Okay. Yeah, so I can draw some point objects. And if I want to draw line objects, the default behavior is to draw curves using Bézier's. Like so. When I finish drawing, I then will use one of these green buttons to basically to finish the drawing. So in this case, my stream here, I'll click on this, and now it's finished. It's been committed to the device, so it's now stored in memory. One quite important change between this, say, and the desktop is that there is no save button here. Everything is persisted immediately. So I was just going to draw another feature. Just going to draw a railway here. Finish that. If I want to draw things with straight lines, rather than dragging with my pen, I can just tap with the pen and it will draw straight lines. And I can change from drawing straight to curve if I want as well. If I want to remove the last point that I drew, I can just use this backspace button. And then so if now I can draw a curved fence if I want to do that. We'll go back and continue with my straight fence. When you're drawing, up on the status bar, you can also see the length of what you're drawing as it's drawing as well. You can see at the top there. And obviously, if I've drawn something and I don't want it, I can just immediately click on the delete button and it'll be thrown away. There is also a rectangular mode. So, for example, if I want to get say a building, so you saw then that I opened up a symbol selector to get the other symbols which are not in my toolbar. So I got a building, and here I can use the other blue button. So the left one is for the curves, the right one is for rectangular mode, and then I can draw my building. Also, when I'm drawing an area, up in the status bar, you get, I don't know if you saw that, you get the calculated area of what you're drawing as you're drawing it at the top there. It's next on my list. Yeah, I was just going to also draw, I can draw, go back to a curve mode and just draw a thicket. So we've got a few features. And now as we're going to draw, I was going to also draw, I'm not sure which symbol to use, maybe this one here. So I was going to show you we have a follow tool. So if I start to draw and I want to follow the edge of my road now, I can use this button, this yellow button in the middle. And now I can follow. I'm just holding the pen down as I follow around the edge of my road. I come around to here. Okay, and now I want to start following the fence. So I lifted the pen, I pressed down on the fence, I followed the fence. And now I'm going to change to the railway. I'm going to follow the railway to there. And then I finished. And then I completed. So it means you can reuse geometry from other objects when you're drawing area type features or others. And then I was just going to draw one more feature before we start talking about selection. So I was just going to draw a car park here. Just going to turn off the follow tool. Okay, so oops, right. Well, that was interesting. It put a curve at the end. Not always perfect. So now I was going to talk about the selection functionality. Obviously I've changed tool now from the drawing to the selection. I can select, so I can select different, I can select, say, just select a couple of point features. I can move them collectively as a group. Obviously I could just select one and move it. Obviously I can select things, I can select them and I can delete it. And now it's gone. I can also, if I select a line feature, I can move the Bezier points and I can move the control points for the curves. And then I can obviously do the same with areas. So here I can fix, oops, I didn't mean to move it. I can move my Bezier control points here to line my car park up so it's following the road better. And then, that's interesting. I thought the hedge should be on top of the car park. Okay, because the next thing I was going to show you is actually I can cut a hole in something, but I can cut a hole somewhere else. So again, I've selected my object. I've got 3 blue buttons down here, which will change the behavior of the selection tool. So the default behavior is just to select things and move them, or obviously you can delete them too. But if I turn on the scissors tool, I can cut a hole then in my hedge. So I could cut a couple of holes here. I could also, if I select a feature, the plus and minus tool here means that I can add extra points, and I can remove points as well. And then if I turn that off, and then I can move the points, the ones that I've maybe added. That's what that's for. The third tool here, the one in the middle, is known as the reshape tool, which is something which is in the desktop. And that means that I can take my selected stream in this case, and I can start somewhere on the stream, and I can redraw it like so. And then when I finish, it would have replaced the segment of geometry with my reshaped geometry. So it's still one object, but it now has a new geometry. Some other things you can do with the selection is I can change it to a different symbol. So my green here, I could change that to, for example, say an undergrowth symbol instead. That works with multiple objects. So if I take these two trees, I can change them to, say, green crosses. And then one other last small thing is if I say have a something like a fence which has side or direction, I can use this other green button here to say which side the tags will be on. It effectively inverses the feature, changes its direction, and then the tags appear on the other side. And I was going to say the last thing I was going to show you is with the editing is that everything I've done now, well, actually, I'll just do one more thing. I'll just draw a bit of a sketch here. Everything is undo or redoable. So if I click on undo here, my red sketch is gone. And I click on undo, the fence is inverted. Undo again, my green crosses have changed to green circles. My green undergrowth has changed to a green, shaded green. Then the reshape for the stream, and another reshape, or moving of Bezier points, etc. And basically everything is undoable, and I can redo those things again, and they will come back. So we're right back to the beginning again. Well, back to the last thing I actually edited. So I was just going to say, I was going to just pause here now, because that's what I was going to demonstrate in terms of editing. If there are any questions?
I can't see any questions in the chat thus far, and I can't see any in the Q&A either. If anybody does have any, feel free to pop in either or use the raise hand function.
Yeah. Did the video keep up with what I was saying? Did anything get missed?
From my end, it looked like it was keeping up, but
Okay.
somebody with a little better mapping technical knowledge could very easily correct me as well, because it's not my area of expertise thus far. Graham has a question asking, is this all in a sketch layer or is it the map itself?
This is on the map itself. Yeah, you will notice that what I've been drawing, that the features I've drawn have followed the color layers which have been defined in the project file, in the OCAD file. So the buildings and the other things have appeared on top of the yellow background. So all of that layering information is there, and it's used. The sketches are drawn on top. And yes, it's, yeah, so it's true map objects. Yeah.
Excellent. The only other comment in the chat was Ben saying it looks amazing. So that's always a good start.
Thank you, Ben. Okay. The next thing I was just...
we have a hand up from Ian, just in the nick of time. Ian, if you'd like to unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, hi, Alistair. We have a continual problem with some mappers changing the colour chart. Does the Sketch app pick up the existing colour chart from the underlying OCAD map, or does it just pick up the OCAD default automatically?
I don't know if I can fully answer that question. The colours which you see here do come from the project, as do the symbols. More than that, I couldn't really tell you. Yeah, in terms of the exact colours, I'm not sure. It's a question we would have to pose to one of the other guys at OCAD.
Okay.
To answer fully. But yeah, we can try and find that out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can also add the fact that like you, Joe, I'm not actually a mapper either. So I'm learning about. I didn't even know about the reshape tool until 6 months ago. Right. The next thing I was going to just briefly touch on was background layers. So this is very similar to the Sketch app to those who have used it. There is one difference that we've added. And there's another change which we want to add, which we haven't done yet. Firstly, you can obviously adjust the opacity side of the different layers. So you can see here the sketches I can make more opaque, and the same with the map. If I just hide these for a moment, I can do that. And then I can see some other things like this is an aerial photograph. And then we've got some vegetation here, and so a slope gradient background image. And again, you can adjust the opacity of these as well as you can in the Sketch app. The thing which we've added is we've added transparency, which means that if I show these two, obviously you can't see the slope gradient at the moment behind the vegetation. But if I make the vegetation now transparent, it means that the slope gradient starts to show through. You can see if I turn it on and off, looks a bit pixelated actually. I'm not sure why that is. But yeah, it means you can see multiple layers at the same time, and you can adjust the opacity of them, as well as turning on and off the transparency. The other change which we want to do is we want to provide a way that you can group the different files together into like you could say sets or groups of background, so that you can turn them on or off more easily, rather than just using this all or none button, which we currently have. Yeah, so that's the other change which we want to do, which we haven't done yet. So that's the background. Did anyone have any questions about that before I move on to the next subject?
Nothing in the chat thus far.
No.
Nothing
Okay.
in the Q&A. So if any raised hands comes in, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I didn't think there'd be much. Okay, so the last thing I was going to talk about is just the configurability of the app. So at the top right here, we have this basically a settings button, which takes you to a different page where you can configure different things. So, for example, we have a light and a dark mode. If it changes, hopefully. Yep, there you go. So now we're in light mode. And like I said, you can hide and show various things, like the position of the toolbar, which at the moment can only be really at the bottom or floating, which works okay-ish. One other quite significant thing is obviously we're designing this device, this app, to work on different devices. And so sometimes you might use your fingers, sometimes you've got a pen, sometimes it's a small phone, sometimes it's a larger tablet. So you can adjust the button size. So I can make my buttons really big, which means when I go back to the map, when it comes, waiting for the screen to update, there. Now my buttons are really big. So you got your big fat fingers and you can hit the buttons as you would expect. And likewise, if you can make them really tiny, if you have a really large device with a pen, and they could be really small. Wait for the screen to update. There we go. So where you've got the buttons are very small as well. So this is trying to improve the usability So I'll just put the buttons back to what I consider to be a normal size. Like so. I'll go back here. Some other things we've looked at. Most of these is, I've just changed to the map tab. Forward update. There we go. So you can configure, obviously, hide and show different things like the zooming buttons. Also, for example, the GPS positioning. You can maybe change the indicator type and size and that type of thing, and which color, things like that. Probably the biggest thing, which I was going to talk about for a couple of minutes, is the symbol configuration, which is basically similar to favorites on the desktop. And so if you remember if you think of the map, which I've been showing you, we had 2 rows of symbols at the bottom. And those 2 rows I configured here. And here I've set up a set of favorites, which I call BOF demo, which I can see at the top here. I can actually have other sets of favorites as well. So I've got my BOF demo one. Then I've got a few other ones which are read-only, which OCAD will come with configured. So, for example, I could look at the sprint one, which has, again, 2 sets of symbols here. But it's a different configuration. If I was to look at the course setting one, again, I just see then we have 1 row or 1 set of symbols for the course setting, and all the other symbols are below. So if I go back to my BOF demo one here, I can, if I want to, I can add more rows or I can remove rows. So I could just add a row to this here, and I could select some symbols, and I just drag those into my set 3. And then if I close this and go back to the map now, you can see at the bottom here now of the map, I have now 3 rows of symbols. If, however, I want to change quickly to using some different sets, like, for example, if I'm maybe if I'm going to start drawing an urban map or some other different type of terrain, like sand dunes versus oak woodland or something like that, I can just bring up the small configuration button at the bottom, and I can just change then, say, to course setting, and it will change the set of symbols at the bottom for me. So if we just change back again to my BOF demo set, and here we go back to 3 rows again. And as you saw when I was demonstrating before, any symbol which doesn't appear in these 3 rows, I can always get from pressing on this grid button on the left, and that gives me all of the other symbols. If we go back here again to the symbols here, so it also means I can change the order of some symbols. So if I say that I want to put these symbols at the beginning of this set, I can do that. I can move them around. If, for example, I never draw, I never use the sprint symbols, or no, say the course setting symbols, I can just make them, I can turn off the visible button, and then I can close this, and I can see in my configuration here that I no longer have the course setting ones available. And I can bring them back again just by making them visible again. If I was to select it here, course setting and visible. I could, one last thing, if I take the BOF demo one, is if I like my set of symbols, but I want to make a variation of it for example, a slightly different type of terrain, I can just click on this button on the top right, and that will duplicate my set of favorites. So now this one's called BOF Demo 1. I've still got my BOF demo, which is still here. And now, say in BOF Demo 1, I don't want to have the third row, so I can just take that away. Maybe I can even take away the second row. So I've just got one set, close that, and down here, I can just go to BOF Demo 1, and now I've got one row of symbols. So this is one example of the type of configurable functionality we're trying to build into the app. And I think that's what I was going to talk about for this. Oh, and also that there is a way to deal with, you can also make certain symbols protected, which means they work in a similar way to the desktop, and that you won't be able to select them, but there is a way that you can still draw them if you need to. But I wasn't going to demonstrate that just now. I was going to say, is there any questions about sort of settings and configuration?
Just checking the chat and Q&A now. Are there any questions for raised hands, though? I think you're off the hook.
Okay, good. So that actually ends the demo I was going to do for my Android. I've got a couple of other things which, if I go back to the desktop to show. So if I try and share my screen again. Right. Can you see the PowerPoint presentation again? Yep. Okay, thanks. Right. I've just got I've got two more small demos, which are just short videos. So the first one was, I've installed it on my iPhone. And unlike the project I was using on the Android, this is actually a really large map. So I'm running it on my small phone. So, and I'm going to obviously, and in the video, there's no audio, but so we can change to that. If I find, there we go. And so I can see. So there's a large map. It's about 9,000 objects, which was used to erase last year. And so here I'm zooming in. I'm going to draw like a water pit. Zoom back out again. And I was going to zoom in somewhere else and draw another feature. And this is all being done with my finger. It doesn't, I'm not using a pen or anything. And this is sort of one of those cases where maybe you want larger buttons for your fingers. But so it is possible. It does work even with a large map. And I think I zoom out one more time, and then I was just going to do a little sketch somewhere else to show that it's the same functionality. And this is running on iOS. The other one was on Android. And I think that's about the end of that small video. Yep. So now we'll go back to the slides. So that was one small thing. And then the last thing I was going to talk about is something I've been working on in the last couple of weeks, which is to do with GPS tracking and the generation of map objects, etc., with the GPS. So I'll come back to the slide in a moment. I'm just going to jump across, and we can watch the video first. Find the right window. Yeah. Just going to say, do you hear me in this video? So the audio is not working. Did you?
I've not had any audio through this one. Possibly what we could do is share a link to this video after the session as well, if that would be helpful. Okay.
What I could do now is I'll turn the audio off, and I'll play the video and I'll just talk through what I'm doing.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so what I've done here is at the top there's a button to open up a little toolbar here where I can record the tracking as I'm moving around, and hopefully yeah. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately the symbol selector I haven't finished developing, so it only allows me to change between drawing a sketch and drawing two other symbols, one of which is the undergrowth and one of which is a lake. So on the screen now you can see the tracking. I'm where I am, and I'm about to turn on using the recording button, which is the one next to the compass. So I'll probably press that probably now. I'm not quite sure what I'm saying in the actual video. Yeah, so now it's going to start recording. And as I move along, you can see that it's drawing the red line, which is effectively drawing a sketch line first. There is a slider control beside, which basically lets me reduce the number of points in the geometry. And you'll see in a moment that I'll adjust that. So I'm going to adjust it now, I think. Yeah. And you can see when I do that, that the red line has taken away some of the points. And I can put them back in again by just adjusting that slider, and it all happens dynamically at runtime. So it keeps going a bit, I keep walking a bit further. And then about this point, I've decided that, oh, I've just seen something in the forest, which I want to draw on the map, but I want to go and have a look at it before I've finished my geometry. So I've paused the recording by pressing on the recording button again, and I've wandered off to go and have a look at something. And I think I'm going to draw a couple of features now. I'm going to draw I think it was a pit, and then I was going to draw a green bush. So the recording is still, it's paused, and I'll come back to that in a minute now. So I've drawn my two features. I'm going to walk back to the end of the red line, effectively. So I recorded this about lunchtime today. And then I've started the recording again. You can see the button now has a border at the top. And now it's recording points again. Now, one thing I can do, which I think I'm about to do now, is I'm going to change from looking at the sketch to instead looking at it as an actual map object, which is drawing. And you can see here I'm changing the symbol from being the lake to using the undergrowth one. And at the same time, I can also, I think, dynamically, I'm going to walk a bit further, and you can see it's still generating the feature, and you're seeing the feature effectively how it will look in the end, except the layering's not quite correct because it's actually drawing this on top of the map at the moment. And you can see here I'm adjusting the number of points, so that's using like a point reduction algorithm, depending on how rounded and smooth you want it. At some point also there's a curve option and a straight line option, which are the two of the other buttons at the top in the toolbar. So at some point I might show that as well. And it means that you can see the feature on the map evolving and changing, and you can change dynamically the way that the curvature of the Bezier, like how detailed, how square it should be, etc. And I think we've come to the end now. And yeah, and here I'm just showing again, I can adjust how many points I want to use. I think I was just testing the square function then to make it more rectangular if I wanted straight lines. And then when I've finished, I've clicked on the confirm button, so the green one. And now what I can do is I can actually select the thing which I've just generated. I accidentally started in the car park at the bottom right, so I'm going to edit that point now in the map object that I created. Yeah, and I could obviously edit anything else because now that object has been added to the file, it's correct in the layers, etc. It's persisted, etc. And yeah, and that's sort of a demo of producing a geometry using GBS. And so there's just a couple of points here. So the sketch just generates points. The Bezier, you can use Bezier or straight lines, and that'll obviously work with areas or line symbols. And you can have dynamic point reduction, and you can obviously also change the symbol or the sketch or the drawing mode, whether it's curves or straight lines, dynamically as you're generating the data. And you can obviously pause the recording, and then you can edit everything afterwards if it's not perfect, and everything's fully undoable. And did anyone have any questions about that?
I've not seen an immediate question, but the first one that I saw was Phil saying nothing short of absolutely amazing. So
that's nice. Okay, and I think the last slide I've got.
I do have a couple of questions actually coming through. Sure. So the first one is from Stephen, who says, when is the new app estimated to be available, and will there be an additional cost?
Yeah, so well, to answer that question, I've just jumped to my last slide. So the release date is sometime this year. We haven't decided exactly when. The cost, this is a point of deliberation in the company. We have said that initially there will be no cost because basically this app will only work if you've got an OCAD license. At some point in the future, I would have said this could be next year, we will revise, as we probably do yearly, revise licensing costs and decide then if there should be an extra cost for this somehow, or whether the general cost of the license might go up slightly. I'm not sure. It's not decided. I don't know if Andreas has any more comments than that.
No, it's
No.
what you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Okay.
um,
Did you say there was some other questions or?
Well, coincidentally, the other questions were two separate ones of when's the release timeline and will it still be free? So we've covered all three off in one go there. It sounds, I think a good takeaway is when it's released, get right on it.
Yep. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm just going to say thanks to Lucas Graham, who lives up in Scotland, who's joined the team, and he's made some really good contributions to it. So if you know Lucas up in Scotland, and thanks also to Bruce from OD, from my club, who obviously gives me my test data so I can wander around my neighbourhood drawing stuff. And that's all from the app team. And now I was going to hand over to Andreas, if you want to take over.
yes. Okay. Thanks, Alistair, for the update. It looks really amazing, and I'm also eager to test the app. So yeah.
Yeah.
Look
Why
forward
haven't you tested it yet, Andreas?
Yeah, quite busy at the moment. But I will do it for sure. Okay, then I share my screen. I hope you can all hear me and see me. Now
Yep.
my presentation.
Yep.
Great. So what's in the second part of this seminar? I will talk about the work steps before exporting print PDFs. And so imagine you have done a map, and now it's there are some steps you can do before printing it. First of all, it's about improving the map legibility, what tools are there in OCAD, and then how you can optimize the file size. And then it's about defining print extents and creating layouts before you can export PDFs. So we start with improving the map legibility, and I will switch to OCAD and show the things I want to talk about in OCAD. But here in the slides, I also added all the links I will talk about. So maybe Joe can share the slides afterwards, so you also get the links. Okay. Then I'm starting OCAD, and I have here some sample data, and I open a file. When we talk about legibility, there is a function in OCAD in the map menu. It's called map legibility. And I have to zoom in a bit first into the map. And I start this function, check legibility. And here I can check objects if they are drawn according to the specification of the IOF map specifications. So I can check for all objects or just objects with a selected symbol. And here I only check in this example the current view. That's why I zoomed in a bit. And you see, I can now check the distance between objects, the minimum length, and the minimum area size. Then I click OK, and now it's checking the objects here in the background. And when it's done, there were two symbols added to my symbol box. The first one shows minimum distance conflicts, and the second one minimum line distance conflicts. But you can here in the select menu, you can go to reload selections, and here I can reload the selection for the minimum distance conflicts, and then I get the list, and if I click on one, I see all the conflicts that are now in this extent. So let's have a look at this example. So there is a null that is a bit too close to this contour line. That's why I got here such a red point. So it reminds me I should have a bit more distance between the contour and the null. And then I can go through this list and yeah, see what I could improve in order to improve the legibility. Then I can also reload, for example, the minimum size conflicts, and also see what's in the list. And okay, here I have a rough open land that's too small. But yeah, this function gives you an idea what is wrong or what could be improved. But I also imagine that you may be not keen on working through such a big list. Imagine I check the legibility of the whole map, then I have some hundred lines here. I think one way you can improve the legibility is also to show the legibility, or to have some helpers that shows you live if an object is big enough and have enough distance to each other. So here in the OCAD preferences, in the drawing and editing category, you have here a legibility section, and there is a legibility halo that I recommend to activate, and also this checkbox for check IOF minimum dimensions, and you can also enable the live preview. So what's this legibility halo about? When I select, for example, a small null, and then I draw a second small null, then you see the halo I have, and that gives me the distance, the minimum distance I should have to this null. So if I would draw the null here, then it's too close. Then I have to see that it's enough distance between these two nulls. The same is with the minimum dimensions. So I start drawing some green area, and you see here at the bottom left if the area is large enough. So when it's green, then it's large enough according to the minimum dimension. If I make it smaller, you see it's turning red. So it says, okay, now I have only 58% of the yeah, it's only 58 or 60% large, and it should be 100%. So I can enlarge it, and now it turns red. It turns green again. So that's according to the minimum dimension. This light green should be that large. Yeah. So these two tools will help you to have a better control of the legibility, but of course, most important is to print out the map and yeah, see visually if the map is legible or not. It also depends, of course, on the print quality. And when printing out the map, you can also check the colors. Here in the map menu, you can go to the color table, and then you see all the colors that are used for the symbols here in this map. And yeah, you can adjust, of course, the colors here. Let's take this color, for example, for the contours. You know, you can change the values there. And there is also this color swatch that might be interesting. So you have here the color table of the current map, and you have here on the right side a color table of a reference map. So in this example, the reference map is a printing company that defined colors that the printing will look good. And then I can say I want to replace all the colors of my current file and click OK, and you see the colors change now. So if you have a printer at home or a printer in the office and you adjust the colors that they look nice on your printer, you can go to Report, and then you can save a text file, and you can reload that text file afterwards here in the color swatch. You can reload it again, and then you can replace the colors of another map so that also this map looks nice on your printer. That's about the legibility. And are there any questions right now about improving the map legibility?
I can see a hand up from Ian. Ian, if you'd like to go ahead.
Yeah.
It's just a point. I've been using the legibility tool quite a lot on an urban map, which is about 18 square kilometers, done by several mappers over about 15 years. And the biggest number of legibility problems I had was where people had not joined up fences that actually met, but they joined it as two fences, or where a paving line had a small gap to a fence or something. It was actually where they hadn't finished the drawing properly, rather than a pure legibility problem. I would think that was at least 50% of the legibility problems I picked up. Because it thought there should be a gap between, say, an uncrossable fence and a paving line. There should be no gap, but because there's a gap, it said, oh, there's a legibility problem.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So people get the drawing right to begin with, then they don't have a problem.
No. Okay. Yeah, it can also, of course, it can happen that sometimes the tool gives you also wrong hints. But yeah, normally it's you have some options here also, maybe that you can check distance only between objects of the same color group. Yeah, and also in the code, it's defined that not all combinations are checked. So yeah, but maybe that's a combination that yeah, that should not be checked. Okay. Any other questions? If not, I will proceed.
No questions I can see so far. You're good to go.
Yeah, okay. Then I go on with the file size. So imagine you have a map, and then it's about how you can reduce the file size. I think it's easier than if you pass the map to a course setter, or if you upload it to the sketch transfer. Then it's better to have a rather like 5 megabytes than 50 megabytes file size. So here are some hints how you can improve it. First of all, the most important one is if you go to the map menu, there is the command optimize repair. And we can only recommend to run this command regularly, because it kind of cleans up the file and also reduces the file size. Here is the optimization results. You see right now there is no big difference, but it also gives you a hint if you have, for example, objects without symbols, if you have objects with unknown symbols, that could be deleted. So I see I have objects without symbols. I can show them here, show objects without symbols. And you see that I have imported some cadastral data that's still in the file, but that I probably do not need anymore. Then I can go to select objects by symbols, and then I can go to objects without symbol. Then it selects me 2000 objects, and I press the delete button. And if I go again now to optimize repair, then you see then it has reduced now the file size of about 1.5 megabytes. Then I have objects with unknown symbols, only 6 of them, but I can also select them. There are 6 objects selected. If I go to this binoculars here, now maybe I have to zoom in a bit. Then I can go through this list. So how do these objects, how are they created? If you have here a symbol and you delete the symbol, then the objects that has been assigned to the symbol will get, or will be now an object without any symbols. So, for example, if I have here this cliff, possible cliff, and I delete now this cliff, oops, not duplicate, delete it, you see the object is now an unknown symbol. Again, I can select these objects and delete them. Then I might also have some duplicates in the file size. In the file I go to objects, select, and then I can go select duplicate objects, and you see here there are not many, but there are some duplicates, and I have 5 objects selected, and I delete them. Maybe a short explanation how duplicates can or how they can be created. So if I have some border line, then I click on open land, and then I click on the fill or make border icon, then it fills me, and if I click again, it creates duplicates. You see, I have now 5 objects selected. So if you have selected some area object and click on this this function, you have now 2 duplicates. So that's why it's good to select or to run this function and delete the duplicates from time to time. Then what also increases the file size are the contours. Maybe you have some LiDAR data and you create some contours, 1 meter contours, and you see there are lots of vertices, and this of course increases the file size. There are different ways to deal with it. One way is you select all these contours here. You select objects by symbol. Now I have all selected all these blue contours, and then I can go to the smooth function, and I can run this function with a low tolerance, so it's the default setting. And if I run it, you see the contours are smoothed, but I think the shape is still preserved. And if I now go to optimize repair, you see the file size has been reduced again by 2.5 megabytes. So that's how you can reduce the file size by smoothing the contours. Another option is for the DEM contours is you can select all of them, and then you can go to map, and you say export objects of selected symbols. Give me a minute. Okay, that was not good. Probably I should. Sorry, now OCAD crashed. I have to start it again. Sorry for that.
That's unbelievable, Andreas. I thought I was going to be the one who crashed.
Now it crashed. The app has never crashed. Okay. Now what I wanted to show you is you select all the contours, and then you say, okay, I export the selected objects. And I wanted to save it on my desktop, but somehow like here. So contours. So I save this now in an external file, and then I have the possibility to delete it in this file, and then run again this optimize repair command, and then I can just open the contours as background map. Okay, the other file there was also the hills, the other background maps that throws an error, but you see now the contours are back, but not here as objects, but in the background as a background map. So that also saves file storage. Then, of course, we move the background maps if you do not need them anymore. You see I have a feature map and a hill shading map loaded, and I can also remove these ones. Yeah, and the same if you have loaded then a DEM, or you can close it here. Yeah, and again run the optimize repair command in the end. Yeah, that's for the file size, or how to optimize, reduce the file size. I think the most important one is this optimize repair, but you can also yeah, for also this the contours mostly have lots of objects. By smoothing or exporting them in a other files, you can save some space. Do you have any questions here for optimizing the file size?
I'll take a quick look at the chat and the Q&A. I can't see anything thus far, but if
Okay.
anything pops up, then I'll flag it back up for you.
Okay, then if there are no questions so far, then I switch to the third point, and that's defining print extents. And maybe when we talk about print extents, we have also to talk about how the maps are printed. So if you print them at home, then you mostly have print them on A4 or A3 paper, and it's important also to know that each printer has slightly a different print area, and that nearly all of the home printers, they will leave you some white stripes on the edge so that the printer can guide the paper through the printer. So, and then it's important for the layout and also for the print extent that you plan enough margin at the, yeah, so that not some important map or core setting objects get lost on the printout. For the professional printing, there it's the opposite. Mostly they print on oversized format and then cuts to size. So there it's important that you add bleed according to the printer, yeah, so that the map looks nice. Maybe two examples. So that's from a home printer. You see there is some white border, and if you do not plan enough margin, then here the control description is a bit cut here. And on the other hand, that's from a professional printer, and the map and the layout really goes to the border as the printing company prints it on a bit oversized paper and then cuts it to the size. And it's called bleed marks. So that's the paper format here, and then you add some bleed, and then you add trim marks, and yeah, and here at the trim marks, it's yeah, you cut it, the map. And on the other hand, if you print it at home, then leave enough margin also for the layout. You do not get any problems with objects that are not on the map. Then I switched back to OCAD. And to find a print extent, there is a new function now in OCAD. So we go to the layout menu and then go to define paper size. And here you can show the paper size in the drawing area. If I activate it, you see the paper size here. It's white and everything else is grayed out. I can set the scale 1 to 10,000, paper format for the landscape, and the extent is updated when I shift here the paper format. And what you saw before is this margin. So you can set here some. You can set here the margin. Typically for the home printer, it's 4 or 5 millimeters that are not printed. And then you can save this extent, or you can overwrite an existing one. So here this one is overwritten now, and I can also load another one. So I have defined before 2 extents, one here and one there, and I can close it, and now I see, okay, everything here in this white area will be printed. The extent itself, I cannot move it or select it here in the drawing window. In the drawing window, I have to go again and start the function. But of course, I can select the map layouts, and I can not only select it here in the white area, but of course also in the grayed out area, I can draw and edit, select objects also there. When you want to export a PDF, you can go to File, to the Export dialog, and then here there are 3 dots there, Setup, and here I can also load the extents I have defined before. So I can load it. Okay, oops, it's still this one, and you see it fits now to the extent I defined before. And for professional printing, I said it's important also to add these trim and bleed marks. I can also define them or add them here in the layout menu. I can go to add trim and bleed marks, and it takes me, for the paper size, it takes me the currently activated extent, and I can add trim marks, add here and add bleed marks, close it, and you see they are now added also in the drawing window. These are now layout objects. So if I go to layout, edit layout objects, you can select, edit, or delete them here in the list. Yeah, that's how you can define a print extent. And now we want to see how you can create a layout then. But I open another map. So now I have a map without the layout, and now I want to create a simple layout. But for that, I have 2 possibilities. I can create a layout with OCAD objects, or with this. I can select the symbol here and draw an object, or I can go to this layout menu, edit layout objects, and add a layout object. So it's a bit up to you. This one is rather basic, but I think it's good enough if you have a simple layout. Important here is that you can embed images or link to them. So if you have any sponsor logos, it's good to embed or link them here in the layout menu. But first of all, again, we say define paper size. Now we create a logo for A4 landscape. And then I save it here and close it. And then I can now add some text, leave enough margin. Maybe I have to set the margin also here. Close. You see that I'm not too close to the border. And as I said, you can now, for example, draw a frame with OCAD objects. Oops, it looks a bit clean. Just a very basic one. Or I can go to map, or can I go to menu layout, and also or choose an area object, then a color, and then I can draw something like this, and also have select the text. Oops. It's the wrong color again. Map. These are two possibilities. Either you choose layout objects or map objects. For images, or mostly these are sponsor logos, you can here embed them directly. So I choose here a logo, and then I can shift it and place it where I want it. So these two options is embed, so it's saved directly in the file size. It's good if you pass the map, for example, to the core setter, then you only have to pass the map and not also the logos separately. If you link them, you have to pass the logos separately, but the logos are not in the file, so the file size is maybe a bit smaller. But I think if you have the logos in a reasonable file size, then I recommend to embed it directly into the file. It's much easier. And you can place it like this. Okay. Here in the folder that's on our web server, you can also download it afterwards. I have created two very simple layouts. One looks like this. It's made of layout objects. You see, it's just the map name here, the scale. There is a north arrow. Looks like this. And the second one is made with OCAD objects, and I have created some symbols, a frame for A4 layout, a frame for A3 layout, north arrow, some logo, some text, which you can add. So that's maybe also worth mentioning. You can have the layout directly in the map file, but of course you can also have a layout template like this. These two files. So then you can just open this template, and then you can load your map file as background map to the layout file, and then you can just shift the frame, and you directly have the layout. So you can reuse then the layout quite easily. So that's a very short introduction how you can create layouts and how you can reuse them. Are there any specific questions to this to what I've talked about? If not,
have a question. Sorry, we have a quick question in the chat
Yeah.
from Phil.
okay.
It was just asking why not have the cartography as a background to a simple layout file? If saying that gives some more flexibility than the layout layer, and then can be reused.
So can you repeat the question?
Sorry, yeah. Phil says, why not
Yeah.
have the cartography as a background to a simple
Yes,
layout file?
that's what I talked about before. So I have here this layout file is just I can use it as a template, so I can load it, and then the cartography, so the map, I can just open here as a background. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
And one more from Richard, who said he hasn't had great success with the smooth function in reducing file size. Do
Okay.
you have any suggestions on how to address that?
Well, I can go back again if I have the. I have now this still here. No, I have deleted them now. Okay, but I can also just draw some line. Of course, if I have to select first, I have to select the object, and then I go to topology, smooth, and then it depends a bit the tolerance you have. So maybe you can click on this question mark that shows you a bit the difference if you have a high tolerance or not. And I think you just have if nothing changes, so then you would need more points or a higher tolerance, or yeah. Okay, but to finish my input, I would like to show you how to export the PDF, and here we come. Here we have to talk about canvases. So if you have a map here, if you just want to export the map, I think it's quite simple. You just go to File, Export, and that's why what I showed you before. You can also load here an extent that you created before. So just export a PDF. We recommend to always export a PDF and not to print the maps directly out of OCAD due to color display. So I think the colors are better preserved if you first export a PDF and then print this PDF. But of course, when you pass the map to the course setter, and the course setter sets the courses, and then you have at the end mostly you export courses and not only the map. So we export courses, and for that we have developed the canvas function that helps you to export courses at different scales, as it is needed mostly nowadays for bigger competitions. And just maybe a brief overview, what's this canvas function about? Here I have a sample, and you see that it's a course setting project, and here in this course setting project, if I go to background maps, you see there are 4 background maps loaded. It's first of all, it's the map file. So it's the map from the map maker that has been loaded here first at the bottom. And then we have on top, we have in this case, 3 different layout files for different scales. And then if we now go to the preview, you see, depending on which course I choose, a different layout file is loaded. Maybe I have to activate the preview, and you see also here the control description and the course title is displayed at the different place, and this all is controlled here in the canvas function. So if I go to course setting, canvases, I can create canvas. In this example, I have to export the courses in different scales. So 7,500, 10,000 and 15,000. That can be some long distance race for the, we just have these 3 scales. And for each canvas, I can set an export scale. I can define an extent. We have seen before how you can define an extent, and you can also choose the control description box size and the maximum length of it. And then here you see listed all the courses and classes you have defined in the course setting, and then you can assign the courses or classes to a canvas. And here in the visibility, then there is a usage section where you have all the available symbols. Here from the symbol box, you can pre-select them, and you have also all the background maps which you can pre-select, and that makes this pre-selection makes it then easier here in the visibility section to say, okay, for this canvas, I want to show these symbols. So the start for the 7,500, the control description that I use for this, the course title and so on. And I want to use the background map, so the layout for this 7,500 scale. And you see it's different for the 10,000 and for the 15,000. So that's also why I have here 3 different control description symbols. So I can just duplicate it and then place it at a different somewhere else compared with the one for the 10,000. So it's the 7,500. It's placed here, and here is now the 10,000 activated. It's placed there. And if I have set it all, then I can go to the PDF export section, and that's then really nice. If you have set everything correctly, you can just click on export, and it will export all the PDFs just with one single clicks, and it's really convenient if you have, for example, made some last minute changes to the map file. Then you just have to replace the map file and can run this export command, and you get all the printed PDFs with the updated map file. So we really strongly recommend to use this canvas function if you work with different scales, or also in other scenarios if you have map flips, etc. Yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about. Maybe as a last part, you should also always be aware that what I talked about now, this creating layouts, defining print extents, it's always a bit of discussion who is responsible for that. So if you have a bigger competition, who defines the print areas, which scales are printed in which scale, and so on, and who creates the layout. I think that's a point of discussion you have to talk about quite early when you are organizing a bigger event. Then, as I said before at the beginning, the demo data I use now for this webinar, you can download it on our web page. So if you want to try some functions I have showed before, and then when we talk about OCAD news, this define paper size is of course new, but there is also another function, this create feature map. I haven't talked about it now, but there is an icon presentation from last year. I was talking about it. You see the link here. And yeah, I really hope that Joe can upload or let you or can share this presentation with you. And you see for all the different things I talked about, you see some links to our OCAD wiki where you can read more about the different functions. Yeah, that's me. I stop sharing my screen, and yeah, if there are any questions, I'm of course happy to answer them also.
Yeah, I'll put out a quick last call for any questions if they haven't come in yet. I'll just check the Q&A and the chat, but please feel free to pop your hand up if you do have a question. But what I will do, I'll definitely get the slides available to everybody, because there's so many different links on there and so much information. I'm sure that it'll be
yeah, of course,
really good to be able to share those around.
Yeah.
And
well, if you want, I can just share or just add it now to the meeting chat, the slides, or is it easier if you send them afterwards?
If you pop them over to me in an email, and then tomorrow,
okay,
when the video's uploaded, I'll pop out as a big package to everybody.
Yeah, okay.
And we can pop the slides on the website as well for anybody who's come across it on YouTube, who can then get onto those links too.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Joe, I'll also send you, somehow we need to load up the other video, which had, because the audio was missing.
We can, we'll figure that one out, and I'll make sure that goes in the back as well. And I'm sure I can pop it somewhere as an unlisted link or something, or just the file. But yeah, that'd be brilliant. I can't see any questions, so I will just start to wrap things up, I guess. First of all, a huge thank you to both Alistair and Andreas. They're really, really good, informative demos. I can see there's been so much positive feedback, and I take it more from the members than I do from myself, because, as I said before, I mean, at least Alistair's been able to work on it to gain some expertise. It's still a little bit outside of my area of expertise, but from the software side, really great stuff that you've been doing, and it's a good show for what's to come as well. So a huge thank you to you both. A huge thank you as well to everybody who's attended this evening. It's really good to see so many faces here, and also the good questions as well, and in the chat interaction. You can see more and more people saying thank you as well in the chat, which is really great news as well. So that'll be brilliant. I'm looking forward to getting the session uploaded onto the YouTube channel. And as discussed, I'll put together a bit of an information pack with hopefully the slides, all the links, the video, and anything else that I could possibly think of that can go in. We'll get that sent out to everybody and put on the website as well. So with all that to collate, I'll say that I'll hope it's tomorrow. At least the video will be, but I may send out the rest of the pack on Monday. So that will be all with you. As a quick plug, the next session for the development conference is also on Monday, and that is Soft Skills for Effective Coaches, which is shaping up to be a really good session as well. So I'd hope to see you all there, and I'll pop the link to that on the email too. You can find all the information on the development conference sessions on the website. That's on British Orienteering / development conferences, all one word. I'll just pop that in the chat as well now, as well as the YouTube videos, which is also really good stuff to have. I'll pop the rest on the email, but as time's gone on a little bit, I will wrap up quickly and let everybody get away. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending this evening. It's been really good to have everybody, and I look forward to having you all back for another session. Good evening.